Hello. Today I'm going to showcase a number of things that I have collected over the last few years. Uh, I do collect things like rocks and bones, interesting sticks, uh, though today I'm going to showcase a number of things that are in my collection of found metal objects or harvested metal objects. Um, I can't say that I know what all of them are from, uh, but they're all things that interested me when I found them, and that's why they're going to be included here. Um, so the first thing that I have here is a shock, and it's from a bicycle that I had for a number of years. It's definitely it would take more force that I can put on it with my hands because it's actually meant to support a whole human body that's on a bicycle. With I guess with a good tool, you can adjust where this is on the shock. But at the time that I was getting rid of that bike, I looked at the different parts of it and said, okay, well, something here is going to be good for me, good for my collection. What's it going to be? And this was the thing that stuck out most. Next is this. This is another bike part. Probably pretty obvious to many people. This is just a kickstand. This was not from that same bike. Though this, I believe I just found this. It had broken off and was on the street. It's pretty worn on this edge here. You know, some sort of rust, mineral, and that's been sheared there and worn away. Then here is a copper ball. It's something that I had. Sorry, trying to figure out where it needs to be. This is something that I had purchased a few years ago from an outside sale where they had other crystals and things like that. And this was something that I found interesting. It was, I think, the first time that I had seen copper balls like this. And I remember thinking of like etching something into the surface of it, and some sort of interesting pattern. And certainly at the time, the thing in mind was uh, probably would be reminiscent of something from Avatar: Last Airbender, if anyone's familiar with that. Let's see. Next thing here is some sort of electronic part. It has this little dial here with a ball bearing inside so that this rod can rotate. And when you turn it, this turns in here. What the Sorry. What the function of that is for the device that this is from, I don't know. But I think that that's interesting. It's not a practical thing to carry around because of the shape. It's a little awkward and catchy. But it is an interesting thing for stim purposes. Bring it over here so that you can hear the sound. Anyway, I think that that's definitely a neat object and something that I like. Next is perhaps a bit more mundane. It's just a fairly standard stainless steel lock. It had been on a U-Haul storage locker, and you can watch it here. You've got a, fairly basic mechanism that just most people would be familiar with. But I just like the way that it feels. There's like a little jolt at the end when it locks into place. Anyway, I'm just gonna put that over there and find something else. So here is another object. I can make some guesses as to what this is for, but not what it would be from. In particular, I'm going to use a different thing as just a sort of gesture here. The shape of these holes here. Sorry, there we go. These holes being longer and these ones being shorter indicates to me that this is a cover plate of some kind. There's a sort of divot around each of these holes, so you would put a screw in here to screw it in, but then you can also put the screws in on the lower part. And because these holes here are longer, there's some room for error. The screw that goes down here can actually get into the hole that it's supposed to, even if things aren't perfectly aligned between the other ones. But so you would want to do these three first, I think. Maybe just partially put these screws in. What exactly this is from, I don't know. Again, this is just something that I found on the street and thought was interesting. I think in particular this I found around the corner while I was walking the dog. Put that over here. This next piece here is, it doesn't have any particular function that I know of. It's rusted and has been sheared off of some larger thing. It's got a rough edge here, as well as on this side. Though here, even though this is rusted, this is like a lip, and then it's sort of smooth coming down. So, and there's a there's a curvature to this here. So maybe this is coming off some sort of pipe or something. I really don't know. Um, but there, so that's one of the stranger objects here. Next, I have another. I think this is another bearing, and it was particularly interesting to me at the time that I found it because of how nice the shape is. Um, it's nice and round and has an interesting curvature across the surface, and then it's sort of layered on the inside. So you have this outer ring, and then there's the inner ring. Um, at the time that I found it, it was clean. The inner part here does move, so it is a ball bearing of some kind, though I don't know. Uh, I don't really know what kind of uh, machine is going to use a ball bearing of this size. I would certainly be interested to know if anybody has any ideas. It's pretty big, more than an inch across. The next here, like the shape. And here we have another random found piece of metal. This one is, well, it's longer than a finger. A few inches long, maybe 4 inches, and it has a rounded side and one side that is flat, and the whole thing is pretty thin, but it has a bend in it. Trying to straighten that out, you can see that it's kinked there in the middle of it. Though I reckon that when it was functional, it would have needed to not be kinked like that. Next thing I have here is something off of a piece of electronics. You have a copper wire that feeds into another piece of copper here, and it's sort of tapered at this end. This wire really can just come right out of there, but I don't know what exactly this here piece was for. I don't remember what these were from. It is possible that this wire, and in that case, that if that went with it, they could have come out of a heating gun or something, like a hot glue gun. Which that'll bring me to the next thing here. This clip is a piece that it came out of the hot glue gun. There was an issue with the hot glue gun, and while most of it worked, the cord was cut, and it started to spark. So I had to disable the device, and I took it apart and looked for things that were interesting to me. This is the bulk of the internal part of that hot glue gun. You can see another one of these clips, like this one here, on the device right here. Looking at this, you have on this end a sort of rubber piece which is secured by a metal band. The glue stick gets fed into this rubber tube by just a really rather simple mechanism where it closes on the glue stick and pushes it forward. Just to sort of manually push it, and it'll feed it in there. And then in this chamber here is a piece of ceramic, and I'm going to open this up in order to make it so that you can see. there we go. So here is this bar, okay? So two things. First, on either end of this, at the time that I opened this up, there was a wire that connected to it because you send an electric charge through it, and then this piece of ceramic acts as a resistor, and it heats up a lot, and that's going to produce the heat that you need inside of this chamber to melt the glue as it passes through here before it gets to the nozzle and comes out of the gun. And just unfolding this here so that you can see this ceramic. So you have like two aluminum pieces that house that ceramic, and then this is like a piece of one of the pieces of that's within here, and there's the other one. And this orange material here is, I feel like I'm gonna forget the right terminology, though I really should know it. It's just an insulator. So you have an electric current passing through here in order to heat up this this piece of ceramics. You want to produce heat because you want to melt the gun, melt the glue, but you don't want that piece of aluminum which has a connection to something that's electrified to touch the barrel of the glue gun, because if you electrocute everyone that tries to use the device, you're very quickly going to end up in the courtroom. Anyway, there you go. So that's a basic idea of what's going on inside of a glue gun. Obviously, there are some other controls involved based off what determines the temperature that it heats up to, if you've got indicator lights, when they're on, when they're off, stuff like that. So I'm just gonna put this clip back on, and if I can, I'll get this clip back on as well. Though the way that I have this right now, this bar is actually pushed a bit further out than it's supposed to be. I'm not particularly concerned though, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. Just going to move on. Anyway, there, I'll just move this aside. This this right here is the little tiny circuit board, and it's various bits, including one of the indicator lights and one of the other indicator lights that are also from that same hot glue gun. You've got a a simple control mechanism for changing what the temperature is going to be set to, though what's going on in the circuit in order to interpret that information is outside my area of expertise. I really had just sought to have an interesting experience when it was time to get rid of that hot glue gun. Um, what I can identify here is this, that right there is a little resistor. Um, and it has a gold band on it. And the gold band I know is related to the sort of accuracy of the resistance, or how precise it is. This little red thing here is a dial, which is used for the temperature. So that actually can spin. Put that over there. Let's see what we have next. I see that there is a bolt on the inside here with a nut, and on the other end there's like a little rubber shoe. So my guess is that this is actually a caster for something, or it's maybe from I don't know, something that runs along the track. But it would not really be the right shape for that. Maybe a caster for some kind of device or some machine, I don't know. I have a little skull ring. It kind of stands opposed to the rest of the things here, but is interesting in its own right, I guess. Something that's been around for a while. This next thing here is part of a small scale. I do have the part that this sits on, that you would sort of put one object here, one thing here on either side, in order to see if one weighs more than the other. But I don't have the that thing down here with me. But you can see, or hopefully you can see, right here, there's this sort of wedge shape. It's a triangle because that's going to be the fulcrum for the scale, where it can sort of rock in either direction, though it really doesn't rock very far. And I believe that that's something that I bought at like an outdoor sale as well. I have some washers. This is a bigger washer. This is a washer that I had found, which is sheared in two different directions. So that's sort of interesting. And then here's another one that's actually like that. A much, much smaller washer and an even smaller washer. I have this metal clip thing here. Clearly it was intended to secure something at a point when it was also secured in this direction, though I don't remember what this was from. Here is a piece of zipper. I feel like it's just a nice shape and nice size. It is not YKK brand. Not that that particularly means anything. Next is just a nail. In my house, we have a number of nails of this sort. I kind of just like the shape of it. I like the size of it. It sort of reminds me of like a railroad spike or something, but obviously it's much smaller. I've used these a number of times when the nail itself was important to me and how something was hung. And then I have a metal ring here. I think these, I used to have more of them. I believe that they initially were just like shower curtain rings or something. I don't remember precisely, but um, again, it's a thing I like. And then I have something similar to the thing I had shown before. This device here. Um, it's apparent to me, based off of the holes and the way the holes are arranged, that it's supposed to be a cover plate. It's supposed to sort of fit a certain way, but I could not say what this is from. Here I have another random piece of metal. It's sort of rounded, and this edge here is smooth, and this is a little less smooth. But both of these edges are totally sheared. They're definitely broken off something, and uh, that's definitely a piece to be mindful of because it's kind of on the jagged side. And then here is another pin that I have for use with my kilts. Um, just a large safety pin. Put that over there with the other pin. I also have a bunch of pieces like this. Um, sorry, there's a little sharp noise because there are some magnets inside of this container. So here there are uh, a bunch of these things here, and what these are from is just a piece of IKEA furniture. I think they're used for helping determine the shelf heights and stuff. Let's see, what else do we have? These pieces of metal here uh, are threaded on the one side so that a screw can go into them. But these things themselves are also part of a bed, frankly. But it's a bed that was dismantled several years ago now. And then we have this thing. This is another thing that I had found and thought was neat. All of these nails here are attached to each other, and it's not something that I can ascribe a particular function to beyond what anybody else would guess. Let's see. Remainder of the things here. Not everything really needs to be brought up. There are not many more things left over. But I will bring up this here. This here is, I think, did they call them drop cuts or something? At the All Souls Festival in Tucson, Arizona, they have a giant communal urn that they burn every year, and that urn is made of metal, and this piece was cut out of the urn as they were making it. So this is a necklace that me and my friend, we each have them as just sort of something that was important to us. And we did get the opportunity to go to Tucson, Arizona, and be part of the All Souls procession as well, and that was a nice experience. And there are a couple of magnets, and they're making it a little more challenging for the remainder of the things in this bin. So I'm just gonna let that go as far as individual things go. But this, the whole container here that these things are in is actually from a frying pan. This hole here is where the handle had initially been attached. This frying pan is something that was outside, and while I wouldn't really want to start using a pan that was outside in the trash, it was certainly suitable enough to throw a bunch of other metal things inside of. And all of the things in my collection here that I've been showing today, found another washer, are things that have been in this very container here. Put that over here. And then there is another industrial piece, and I believe this is magnetic as well. I'm not sure. Um, it's really just an interesting thing because it's kind of enigmatic. It's, you know, I couldn't really come up with a good function for what's supposed to be. Um, maybe somebody knows. And then let's see, I have a few other things. Um, the first here is the top of a microphone. That's something that I've had for a little while. And next is another piece of sheared metal. Um, it's very lightweight metal. My guess is that it's at least some amount of magnesium, in which case it very well could have come from a bike. Um, if that bike had been in an accident or something. Um, then I have a big piece of bismuth for one of my recent birthdays. We had got a crappy pot from a store nearby and used it to melt 5 pounds of bismuth, and we just had a ball, had a good time, and this is one of the things that came out of that. We were trying to make the bismuth crystals, and it's not really the best specimen for that, but it's something that I felt was nice overall. Oof. Sorry, some additional noise because of the clanging metal. This is from the same time. This is just a big piece of bismuth. Put that over there. So I had discussed quite a bit earlier about the hot glue gun, and I'm not gonna do that here. But this is the heating mechanisms from a coffee pot, where you've got some similar roles here. You have a chamber that has a filament in it, like some sort of piece of ceramic that will heat up a lot when electrical charge gets passed through it, and that's what happens when you turn the coffee pot on. You're gonna have an electrical current that goes through there and heats it up, and as the water passes through this other tube, it will pass by the heating element inside of this other part, and the water will get hot too. Another metal object here. I am not totally sure what this is. I did know what this was at a time. It could be for hanging stockings or something else. I really don't know anymore. But I like the general shape of it, and I don't know. It kind of reminds me of a lot Nessie. that there. I used to have these large chairs, uh, and at a certain point I ended up getting rid of them. But these here were the feet from the chair, from part of it. So, they would be able to screw into the underside of that couch chair and adjust how tall it is or short it is. Um, yeah, just trying to get the things out of the way. Oops, sorry for the noise. Here is it's a two-part thing. The first thing here is just a piece of metal which has a jagged edge on it. I don't really know what this was initially from. And this here is part of what would the kit be called? It's a gyroscope, the main part of the gyroscope. And I have attached these things together so that you can just sort of do it by hand. There, just sort of run in the top. And then here is a piece of metal which I do have some idea of what this is from. This came from something like a large truck, like a delivery truck, and it's something where I don't know, I think it sort of pulls out and is something that a person could briefly step on and carry on with their business on the back of the truck. But this had snapped off, and uh, I guess I found this up by school. But it's got some nice weight to it, and that was something that I liked at the time particularly. Just put that over there. And lastly, I'll cover this here. This just came from a stove that a neighbor had put out in front of their house for trash day. And I decided I would look around and see if anything on there would be interesting. And this is the thing that stuck out to me that was able to be just sort of lifted and used. So there you go. That covers at least the majority of the metal things in my collection. I suppose I can introduce you to this metal rod here. It was part of a kitchen implement that we no longer use or need, and I like how you have this sort of uh, ball quality on either end. Yeah, so there's that. My name's Alchemical, and Uh, this has been my introduction to uh, my metal objects in my collection. Um, in future videos, I will talk about all the stones that I have collected over the years, and I'll also do video for bones, um, and a few other things. Um, I'm just gonna see if I can get a good shot with all of the things in it that we've been looking at here. But yeah, that covers most of them. Thank you for joining me, and if you'd like to see more content like this, then like and subscribe, and uh, leave your comments and feedback down below. Thank you.